Theo van der Werf is a senior agronomist with the Dutch Agricultural Technology Organization. He is among 40 scientists who have spent 3 years researching the viability of hemp as a solution to a number of problems caused by Holland's intensive agriculture.
Well, I'm very enthusiastic about hemp, because hemp is a little bit a crop which has been of declining importance for 200 or 300 years. It's very nice to be able to help a revival of such an old and useful crop. This is the seed, and it contains proteins and oil. Proteins can be used as a foodstuff for humans or animals. 1 month ago I was in the Hemp Research Institute of the Ukraine, and my salad dressing was hemp oil, and it can be used as a dryer for making paint or things like that.
But the Dutch found hemp's greatest potential in paper making and have been testing the fibre using various pulping methods. In this process, the raw fibre is placed in a grinder where heat and pressure pulverize it into a fine pulp. The fibre is then mixed with water in this scaled-down demonstration of the paper-making process. As the water drains, the fibres coalesce, producing a sheet of hemp pulp. Anything made from wood pulp can be made from hemp, from cardboard to newspapers, from tissue to Bible paper. Holland recycles an impressive 70% of its waste paper, but the more paper is recycled, the weaker it becomes. The inherent strength of hemp fibre makes it an ideal pulp to reinforce recycled papers. It's a market niche worth billions of dollars annually. A sawmiller's daughter, Patsy Harmsen, also looks to hemp as a viable substitute for trees in paper making. She sees it as a potential saviour of Tasmania's fast disappearing old-growth forests.
When Dad went into the bush to get saw logs, everything was left intact. You couldn't tell where they'd been to get the logs, and the undergrowth thrived and the animals thrived, and there was very little disturbance. So the love of the forests was a very, very important starting point for me. And the next one was outrage when I realised that, in fact, wood wasn't the best material for making paper. It's certainly been turned into wonderful paper by people who've poured heaps of energy and heaps of chemicals into it, but it is not a natural fibre for paper. And the best natural fibres are, in fact, annual farm crops, like, and especially hemp and flax as well. I can't believe that anyone could ban a plant that's absolutely natural and wonderful and put here for everyone to use with thousands of uses.
With the harvest of their third experimental crop, Patsy is determined to prove hemp can be used as a replacement fibre in Tasmania's massive pulp industry. Harvest is a family day, with sons, daughters and friends all helping out. Despite the crop's negligible THC content, the drug squad insisted the flowering heads be destroyed for fear they might be passed off as high THC cannabis on the illegal market. Part of this crop is earmarked for the research laboratories of Australian newsprint mills, Australia's largest supplier of newsprint paper. A&M consumes over 500,000 tonnes of trees every year, but that's only a fraction of the 9 million tonnes felled in Australia annually for pulp and wood chips. In fact, the timber in this yard is only enough to fill Australia's newsprint needs for one day. With the controversy surrounding the logging of old-growth forests, A&M has recently moved to plantation for its fibre input. But pine and eucalypt pulps need a stronger fibre to reinforce them, and the company spends $20 million each year importing bales of craft pulp made from spruce trees.
This particular one's come from...
Len Johnson, A&M's technical manager, believes locally grown hemp may have the potential to replace this expensive import.
Fibres showing up here. Now, you have to add that to newsprint to make it strong enough to handle. Obviously, hemp can contribute to this sort of strength, although it would require some pretty special treatment, some special equipment. You know, it doesn't come cheap.
Well, originally we wanted to see hemp being able to replace all grades of paper, but really we have to be realistic, so we were wondering if it could start off an industry perhaps by replacing this very expensive craft softwood pulp because of its extremely long fibre and strength characteristics.
Believe me, it is possible, and this sort of material can be made, a material somewhat like this can be made from hemp, and it can be added to our pulp, and it would be an asset. And it would be an asset to Tasmania too, by the way, wouldn't it?
It would.
Be a great boom.
While A&M has shown considerable interest in investigating hemp as an alternative to craft pulp, their research is still in its early stages. The short-term problem for hemp is that global prices for wood pulp are artificially low, making competition difficult.
Many forests are not grown sustainably, and well, it's a cheap way of cutting down natural forests and replacing them with nothing or with tree plantations, but it means that in fact the wood is too cheap, and the real environmental costs are not all in the price of pulp and wood. When you pulp hemp, you need less harmful chemicals to obtain a similar quality than with wood from trees. And I think the way to go forward is to market hemp products using these environmental advantages, trying to convince the consumer that paper made from hemp is worth more because it's less harmful.
The state of Oregon in the northwestern United States is home to some of America's oldest redwood forests, as well as some of the country's biggest wood chip and fibre mills. Bill Condy owns the largest redwood lumberyard in the state. He is convinced of hemp's potential, not just for paper, but as a replacement for wood in the massive building industry.
We are in the lumber industry and have been for many years, and they are literally chewing up millions of acres of trees for the fiber content of the tree. And the major portion of the trees are actually used for fiber rather than for building materials. And we need to be able to replace trees with another product, with something that is sustainable. If we bring on hemp crop as a fiber crop and start growing it in the massive quantities that we need it, then the price of it will come down, and farmers will be able to sell it to the mills at a price that will be cheaper than wood. Just give it a couple of years, and the price of hemp will be cheaper than wood, because it's a 120-day crop as opposed to several hundred years. There's no comparison. It really isn't.
Bill's faith in the plant's future is backed up by these hemp particle boards produced for his company by the highly regarded Wood Products Division of Washington State University.
We made these boards, which are world-class. These are as good as anything that they make in any of the factories down here. And we have factories here in the state of Oregon. One, for instance, down south of here uses a little over 700 tons of fiber a day, and they sell $3 billion a year worth of this one product here. Now, one of the important things about this is that we have these factories that are set up all over the Pacific Northwest. Some of them cost $100 to $150 million to build. It's very important that we be able to continue to use this same technology. What what we found by working with Washington State University is that not only does hemp work as a wood substitute and make these wonderful boards here that are just as good as anything made out of Douglas fir, and even better, is that using the exact same technology that's in place today. Washington State University used the exact same technology that they're using right now with wood chips, and it works. We have not only proven that hemp works, but we have contacted and have people that are in the industry that are willing to now use and would use hemp right now if we could get it to them. And we have customers that would buy the product. The whole thing is there. We need only one last part of the puzzle, and that is to be able to grow the hemp fiber here domestically so that we can supply the mills. And the truth of the matter is that's what we need to do worldwide. We need to grow hemp worldwide and to supply the fiber need of the planet through annual fiber crops rather than through cutting down hundreds of year-old trees.